Hello friends, my name is Jess. Welcome to Books Past Bedtime. So today I'm bringing you a list of 18 of my most anticipated releases coming out in the next couple of months. I'm going to be talking about books that are coming out in October, November, and December. Let's just get started. So I am sure you have heard of this first book because everybody on BookTube and Bookstagram and BookTwitter and everywhere, honestly, is very much anticipating this book, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This book comes out October 6th and is a fantasy/historical fiction novel. This book starts out in 1714 where our main character, Addie LaRue, makes a bargain to live forever, but on the flip side of this bargain, everyone she ever meets will forget her. So then, flash forward 300 years later, Addie is still alive, but not remembered by anyone until she stumbles across this boy in a hidden bookstore who actually does remember her and remembers her name. And so I'm guessing this sets off a chain of events and really changes her life, and I'm very excited for this one. I am not as big of a fan of Victoria Schwab as most people. I do really like her books, but I'm not like dead set on every single book she's ever written, but this one sounds really interesting to me, and I am very excited to get to it. The next book is called The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This book also comes out on October 6th, and this one is a horror/fantasy novel. It follows our main character, Kara, who discovers a strange portal in her uncle's house leading to madness and terror, and alternate realities filled with monsters who prey on fear and get stronger the more you fear them. So this book sounds really creepy and interesting, and I've really been getting more into like the thriller and horror genres, so this one really captured my attention, and I am excited for this one as well. Next, I want to talk about The Searcher by Tana French. This one also comes out on October 6th and is another thriller/mystery. So in this one, our main character, Cal Hooper, is a retired detective, and he moves to rural Ireland to kind of live out the rest of his retirement in quiet and put his police instincts to rest. But then a local boy in his new town appeals to him to help him find his missing brother. No one else in the town really seems to care about this missing boy, including the police. And so Cal starts to suspect that something is really wrong in this town, something is going on, and he can't help but try and figure out what that is. I know a lot of people don't really like thrillers and mysteries that have a detective or a police main character, but I actually really tend to like those. So this true crime based thriller seems right up my alley, and I'm really excited for it. Next, I want to talk about We Were Restless Things by Cole Nagamatsu. This book also comes out October 6th. There's so much good stuff coming out on October 6th. This one to me sounds like a magical realism or like a fantasy type of story. So last summer, Link Miller drowned in the middle of the woods very far away from the nearest body of water. Most everybody in this town just considers this a really strange phenomenon, accident, but Link's close friend Noemi knows the truth, and that is he actually drowned in an impossible lake that only she can find. And now someone claiming to be Link is contacting her and warning her to stay out of the forest. And as these secrets become too heavy for Noemi to carry, she begins to unravel the truth about herself, about the world, and about what happened to Link. So this book sounds super interesting. I have seen a little bit of buzz on Goodreads. I hadn't really heard about this book before, but a lot of people that I know have also added this one. So I'm very excited to get my hands on it and also to hear what a lot of other people are getting ready to say about it. What the fuck am I talking about? So I really like how this one kind of seems to combine magical realism and like a murder mystery. It sounds really cool. I'm really excited to get to this one. Next, I want to talk about Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This one also comes out on October 6th and is a contemporary romance. This one follows our two main characters, Marcus, who is an actor in a very popular TV series, but what most people don't know is that he actually writes fanfiction for his own TV show. If the producers knew, he would surely be fired, but he can't really help himself. And then our other main character, April, has always hidden her online persona from her real life until she posts one of her fan creations on Twitter and goes viral. Marcus actually ends up seeing this and asks April on a date, and April, being such a big fan of Marcus and this TV show and a prominent member in the fandom community, is so excited and realizes that her life is about to take a major turn. A lot of times I am wary of books that feature fandom culture. They very much are like a hit or miss for me, but honestly this one really sounds like it's going to be a hit. I am very excited to check this one out. It sounds super cute and super fun, and I just am very excited for it. Next, I want to talk about Swamp Thing by Maggie Stiefvater and Morgan Beam. This is an upcoming graphic novel and is going to be released on October 13th. This graphic novel follows twins who are opposites. One is quiet, one is the life of the party, but they are still inseparable. The summer before they go away to college, they actually go and visit some cousins who live in this rural area, this swampland, and they discover that the swamp has even darker depths than they could have imagined. I'm not really sure where this one's going. It kind of sounds like a magical realism fantasy type of thing, but I will read anything that Maggie Stiefvater ever puts her hands on. She is one of my favorite authors, so I'm super excited for this, especially because it's a graphic novel and that is so different from everything she has done before. Very excited, can't wait. The next book I want to talk about is The Deep Blue Between by Aisha Haruna Atta. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. I'm very sorry if it is not. This book comes out on October 15th, and I believe it's a contemporary, but the description also gives me like magical realism vibes, so I'm not really sure which it's going to be, but either way, it sounds really good, super atmospheric. It follows twin sisters Hassana and Husseina, whose home is now in ruins after a brutal raid, and after this happens, they kind of go on separate paths. One sister ends up in Brazil and the other on the west coast, the Gold Coast of Africa, and they actually remain connected through shared dreams of water, but the question is, will their fates ever draw them back together? If you go and read the description of this book on Goodreads, it is so atmospheric and it just really feels like it's going to be a really well written and beautiful story, and it really just drew me in. I don't really know because I really can't tell what exactly it's about other than like sisterly relationship, and I do love that in books. It almost kind of gives me Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo vibes because of the two sisters who are on totally separate paths, and hopefully they get drawn back together. This one sounds really good. I'm really excited to check this one out. Next, I want to talk about Anna on the Edge by AJ Sass. This is a queer middle grade book, and it comes out on October 20th. So our main character, Anna, is 12, and she is the reigning US juvenile figure skating champion, despite not being a frilly dress kind of kid. So when Anna learns that next year's program is going to be princess themed, doubt ensues. But then Anna meets Hayden, who is a transgender boy who's new to the rink, and when Hayden first meets Anna, Hayden thinks Anna is a boy. Anna decides not to correct him, as she kind of feels comforted by this boyish persona when she is around him. Anna realizes that it's difficult juggling these two different identities, and with an impending competition, Anna has to decide whether telling the truth is worth risking years of hard work and sacrifice. I believe this is going to have non-binary rep in it, and that it is own voices, as far as I can tell. So I'm very excited for this one. I love my queer hard-hitting middle grades, and this one sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. Next, I have Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Why can't I say her name? Emily Danforth is also the author of The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which I recently read in my video where I read 5 female romances. This book was published quite a while ago, and Emily has not published another book since until Plain Bad Heroines. This one sounds completely and utterly different from The Miseducation of Cameron Post. This one is actually a queer horror / historical fiction, so I'm glad it still has those queer elements in there. I believe there's like sapphic relationships within this book. So excited for that. This book also comes out on October 20th, and it really centers around this old girls' boarding school called the Brookhants School for Girls. This school was actually closed in the early 1900s after quite a few students were mysteriously killed on the grounds. And then over a century later, the school is back in the news when a horror movie based on the events that occurred on the school grounds is announced and begins filming on location. 3 actresses arrive on set to begin filming, and past and present become entangled until it's impossible to tell where the curse leaves off and where Hollywood begins. This book sounds amazing. I would also recommend going to Goodreads and reading the description of this book because it is so atmospheric and it looks so intricate. This book I think is also going to be multimedia. There's going to be pictures and stuff. There's an illustrator actually listed as well. I love books that incorporate multimedia stuff in them. So this book sounds so good. I am really excited for this one. This one might be my most anticipated on this whole list. I gave The Miseducation of Cameron Post 5 stars, so I know I really vibe with Emily Danforth's writing style. And even though this book is completely different, it still sounds like something I would really love, and I just cannot wait to get my hands on this one. Now we are finally done with all the books that are coming out in October. We can move on to books coming out in November, and the first of those is Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer. This book comes out on November 3rd and is a contemporary romance. So this book follows our main character Prudence, who is very quick to judge people. She's very much like an overachiever, try-hard kind of person, but then one day she wakes up with the ability to actually enact instant karma on those around her, whether good or bad. But there is one person who seems to always cause her power to backfire, and that is Quint Erickson, who is her slacker of a lab partner and mortal enemy. But then Prue begins to uncover truth about Quint, about herself, about her peers, and begins to learn some hard and important truths and how thin the line is between love and hate. So I really am not a Marissa Meyer fan. I've never read a single one of her books. I was not on like Cinder hype train when that was a big, but this book sounds so good. I think the idea of karma is so interesting, and to pull it into the story in this way seems great. This also seems like it's got some enemies to lovers romance action going on, which we know I love. So this book sounds like I'm going to love it, and I cannot wait to read it. So excited. Next, I want to talk about Rent a Boyfriend by Gloria Chow. This book comes out on November 10th and is another contemporary romance. So this book follows Chloe, and in order to get her parents off of her back about accepting a proposal from the wealthiest and slimiest bachelor in their Asian American community. She decides to rent a fake boyfriend from a company that specializes in providing boyfriends who meet and exceed the expectations of even the strictest Asian American parents. And so through this arrangement, she meets Drew, who is perfect for fooling her parents, but then Chloe actually starts to fall for the real Drew, who is not the kind of person you would want to take home to your parents, and her carefully curated life begins to unravel. The fake dating trope is very hit or miss for me, but this sounds really good to me. I just think it sounds funny and has the potential to be a great, fun, fluffy read. Okay, I know I said that Plain Bad Heroines might be the book I'm most excited for on this list, but this one is also in the running, and that is Those Who Pray by Jennifer Moffat. This book also comes out on November 10th and is a thriller. So this book follows a lonely college freshman whose college experience really isn't what she's expecting, and so she is seduced into joining a cult. And this book follows her desperate attempts to escape before it is too late. This book sounds amazing. Can I have it right now, please? Like, oh my god, it sounds so good. I love culty stuff, and just a thriller that combines like a misunderstood college freshman with a cult. Like, I just am so interested to see how that is done, and I think it sounds so freaking good. I'm very excited for this book, if you couldn't tell. Next, I want to talk about Sasha Masha by Agnes Berinsky. This book also comes out on November 10th and is a queer contemporary. This is actually an own voices novel, as both the author and the main character are trans. So this book follows Alex, who really feels like he's in the wrong body. His friend Tracy thinks he is adorably awkward, wants to kiss him, and honestly makes him feel like a real boy, but something is still kind of missing and not quite right. Alex grapples with his identity, especially when he's alone, trying on dresses, wearing lipstick, but then he meets Andre, who is a gay boy who is unafraid to be who he is, and slowly Alex begins to realize that maybe his name isn't Alex after all, maybe it's Sasha Masha. So we love queer rep, we love trans rep around here. This book sounds like it is going to be heartbreaking and beautiful, and I am 100% here for it. Next, I want to talk about Here the Whole Time by Victor Matrines. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. Okay, this book is actually translated by Larissa Helena, and it comes out here in the US November 10th. It was originally published in 2017 in Brazil, so this is, as I said, a translated copy, and it is also a queer contemporary. So in this book, we are following our main character Philippe, who knows he's fat, especially because everyone always feels the need to remind him. So he is really anticipating his upcoming school break more than maybe most. He just really wants to escape and spend his days binging Netflix and catching up on his to-be read list, until his mom informs him that their neighbor, whom Philippe has had a crush on for a really long time, is actually going to be staying with them over school break, as his parents have gone away on vacation. And so Philippe ends up having to confront his feelings about his crush and also about himself. This book sounds beautiful. The cover is beautiful. I mean, just look at it. And I definitely am super interested in reading more translated works, so this one checks that box as well. And of course, I just want to read every queer contemporary that I've ever heard of. Next, I want to talk about Spin With Me by Amy Polanski. This book again comes out November 10th, and this is another why can't I fucking talk? And this is another middle grade queer contemporary. So when her professor father takes a temporary teaching position, 13-year-old Essie has 110 days in a new school and really can't wait for them to end. But then she meets Ollie, and at first Essie thinks that she just has a typical crush on a typical beautiful boy, but as her crush blossoms, she soon learns that Ollie is neither a boy nor a girl, but rather gender non-binary. Ollie also has a crush on Essie, and they kind of have to figure out how to untangle their feelings for each other before it is too late, and Essie leaves and returns to her old school. So this book definitely gives me like Ivy Aberdeen and Sunny St. James type of vibes. I love a queer hard-hitting middle grade, as we all know, as I have said before. So I'm very, very excited for this one, and I think I'm really going to love it. My heart already hurts. I cannot wait to read this one. Majorly switching lanes, I also am excited for This Is Not a Ghost Story by Andrea Portes. This book comes out on November 17th and is another thriller. So in this story, we are following Daffodil, who is spending her summer before college house sitting in a mansion for a really wealthy couple, but as the summer progresses, she comes to realize that the house is a lot more than it seems, and that the house actually has a long-held grudge that needs to be settled, and Daffodil herself is the key to settling it. So this one sounds along the vein of Turn Every Key by Ruth Ware and House After Dark by Riley Sager. I've not read either of those books, but like the haunted house vibes, you know? Definitely getting that from this description, and this one sounds creepy and good, and I am very much looking forward to it. Now on to my very small list of December releases. I only have 2 books coming out in December. Hopefully I will find more like as the months go on, but right now all I have is these two, but I still wanted to share them with you. So the first is The Love Curse of Melody McIntyre by Robin Talley. This book comes out December 1st and is a queer contemporary, and in it we are following our main character Melody McIntyre, who is the stage manager for her high school, and she has a plan for everything except for her love life. So in the past, every time she's had a crush on somebody in a school production, both the crush and the production has ended in disaster. So this year she is like, I am not getting a crush on anybody in this production, but that's before she meets Odile, who is a sweet and talented girl who cares as much about the play's success as Mel does, and then Mel's plan becomes desperately trying not to fall in love. This book sounds so cute and warm and fluffy and sweet, and just sounds like the perfect book to curl up with on the couch with your Christmas lights on in December. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this book. I am so excited. I actually have never read a Robin Talley before. I don't know what kind of queer book recommender I am that I haven't read a Robin Talley, but maybe this will be the first. Maybe I'll be inspired to pick one up before. But either way, this book sounds so cute and I am very, very excited to get to it. And last but not least, I really want to talk about A Curse of Roses by Diana Pinguja. That was probably a really terrible pronunciation. I'm very sorry. This book also comes out December 1st and is a queer fantasy set in Portugal, and I believe that this is also an Own Voices book, both for Portuguese representation and for queer representation. So this book sounds so cool and interesting. We are following our main character, Princess Jezebel, who is cursed in that any food she tries to consume turns into flowers. So she is starving, but her people are also starving as there is a famine ravaging Portugal. She meets a beautiful mythical girl who can teach her how to control her curse in exchange for a kiss that will set her free. This kiss for Jezebel would actually be treason, as she is betrothed to the King of Portugal. So she is really in a pickle, especially after she does kiss the girl and is left just wanting more. So this book sounds great. I am not the biggest fantasy reader, but the description of this book just really has drawn me in. I think it's really cool that it's based on a real Portuguese myth, and of course the queer romance in it sounds right up my alley. This book sounds so good and I cannot wait for it, and I also cannot wait for all of these books on this list because otherwise I wouldn't have included them. So that concludes my list of my most anticipated releases over the next couple of months. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you being here. Let me know down in the comments what your most anticipated book releasing in the next 3 months is. I would love to know. I'm always looking for fun new releases. So yeah, thanks again for watching. All relevant links will be in the description down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.